I'd like to introduce the leader of this steering committee, who has been a huge part of pushing this process forward. She was the author of Migrant Teachers, How American Schools Import Labor, and is a professor at the University of California, Santa Cruz, where she's been a tireless advocate for ensuring that teacher recruitment proceeds fairly. Lora Bartlett. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I study teachers' work and schools as workplaces for teachers. I've been researching teacher labor migrations, especially movements into the United States throughout the past 10 years, and I'm honored tonight to moderate today's panel. But before we turn to our panelists, I want to briefly share with you some of the findings from my research. So, the phenomena of overseas trained teachers in US schools can be hard to see. This is because these teachers are working on more than one type of visa, and also because most state education reporting systems don't account for them. It's difficult to track the numbers arriving into the United States each year, or to be certain about the overall numbers currently working here, or to know where and what overseas trained teachers are teaching in US public schools. Despite the limited information, by using partial data, we know the numbers are significant. For example, between 2002 and 2008, 92,000 overseas trained teachers were sought by American public schools for labor shortages. Now, 92,000 may not sound like a lot when you consider there are over 3 million public school teachers in this country. But consider this. Teach for America, the well-known program that places recent college graduates into 2-year internships in public schools, Teach for America placed only 24,000 interns in the first 20 years of its program. So when we compare 92,000 overseas trained teachers in 6 years with 24,000 TFA interns over 20 years, we can see that overseas trained teachers are a substantial source of the US teacher labor market. Furthermore, overseas trained teachers are not evenly distributed across the United States. Rather, they are concentrated in high poverty urban and some rural school districts. And within those school districts, overseas trained teachers are most likely to be found in math, science, and special education departments. I have visited schools where half of the math and science departments teachers are overseas trained teachers working on short-term visas. And I've been in school districts that have sponsored hundreds of teacher visas in a single year and over 1,000 visas for teachers over just a few years. So what we find are highly concentrated pockets of overseas trained teachers in certain departments of high poverty urban and some rural schools. Now, because of location and limited resources, these schools often have the most difficulty in finding qualified local teachers in specific subject areas. Therefore, urban and rural schools in high poverty areas are the most likely schools to seek teachers from a global labor market. These schools are also likely to seek or accept assistance from teacher placement services that specialize in migrant teachers. Without the guidance of a specific set of basic practices, each school district, placement agency, and migrant teacher has been forced to reinvent for themselves the standards by which they navigate the complex legal and ethical landscape of hiring practices, working conditions, and immigration status. Now, the question I always get about this stage is, are overseas trained teachers effective? Are they making important contributions to the education of public school children in this country? And the answer is, they absolutely can be. And whether or not they are able to be effective, successful teachers is based on the conditions of their recruitment and employment. Overseas trained teachers who are misled about the nature of their work and the conditions of their visa, who are housed in substandard housing, who are forced to separate from their children, who incur huge debt through their migration, and who are subject to exploitive working conditions, these teachers are rarely effective or successful. In contrast, teachers who receive the support they need to transition to teaching in a new country and culture, who know in advance the terms of their visas and the cost of their migration, who are allowed to make their own decisions about when and if their children accompany them, who are treated with respect and work in supportive employment contexts, these teachers can be highly effective and successful. Whether or not we maximize the educational benefit of teacher migrations into US public schools depends on how we recruit and employ overseas trained teachers. Ethical international recruitment and employment of teachers ensures that we treat teachers with the respect they deserve as people and as professionals. It also ensures that we maximize the benefit for the students and schools where they work. Fairly treated and well-supported teachers are more effective teachers.